Euch für uns, jünglich, pflegt der Erzähl in der Welt mit Meises. Die fantastische Meises von Tzadikim und Balshems, was haben gehad Kfitzes Aderech, gewinnt Reihe wie ein Arnires und bewiesen noch als solche Kunsten. For us kids, he used to tell a world of stories, the most fantastic stories of tzaddikim, Hasidic masters, and Balshems, masters of names, that were able to shorten the path to magically go from place to place. They could see without being seen, and they could demonstrate such miracles. Ot die Balshems haben Tomid gehat zu führen Milchames mit goyische Machschefim und Chumers, was haben sich verstellt für Valkalakes und gewollt jeden Risches tan. These miracle workers were forever carrying out battles against the non-Jewish wizards and Chaimer.
May I
Up as a priest.
A priest?
Yeah, priest. A comer, this is a Hebrew word. A comer is a Christian Kohen.
Okay.
You know, it's a priest. Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Who would hide themselves as werewolves, and they wanted to do evil to the Jews. Aber die Tzadikim haben sehr rumgeringelt mit heilige Schemes und Igulim und sie beigekommen. But the Tzadikim would surround them with holy words and circles and would surmount them, could defeat them. Wir haben geleckt die Finger von die Meises. We really enjoyed these stories. Shabbos Batag pflegt euch lernen mit uns a Shoah oder zwei, aber sein Lernen ist gewinn a Vergnügen. Also on Shabbos, he would study with us for an hour or two. But this study, that was a pleasure. Hat erzählt für uns fantastische Sachen wegen die Heldigkeiten von die Shvatim. He would tell us fantastic things about the heroism of the tribes. Naphtali pflegt laufen über Felder, als viele a Hirsch pflegen nicht können der Jagen. Naphtali, he could run across the fields. Even a deer couldn't catch up with him. Shimon and Levi, die Brüder von ein Gedank, haben mit die heule Schwerden gekonnt beikommen alle Sonnen von seiner Vater Yankov. Shimon, Simon, and Levi, the brothers, with one thought, they were able, with just their swords, to overcome all of the enemies of their father Jacob. Yehuda hat gebrummt wie a Leib. Judah, he would roar like a lion. Wenn Yosef hat verhalten Benjaminen in Mitzrayim und ihm nicht gewollt aufgeben zurück, hat Judah getan, genennen zu ihm und so gesagt, when Joseph was holding on to Benjamin in Egypt and didn't want him to let him go back, Yehuda took himself to Joseph and said the following, Ich bett dich, mein Herr, soll nicht zornen dein Grimmzorn, denn du bist wie Paare, also wie ich tu mich nicht furchen verpaaren, weil ich kann ihm umbringen mit dem kleinsten Finger, also kann ich dich umbringen. Notice how Germanic this is now. I request of you, my Lord, that I not anger you, but because you are like Pharaoh. But just as I am not afraid of Pharaoh, because I could kill him with my littlest finger, I could do it the same to you. Und Jehuda hat aufgerissen sein Hemdel und bewiesen sein mächtig Herz, was es gewinnt stark wie bei a Leib. Und die Haar auf sein Herz haben sich aufgestellt wie Spießen. Judah ripped open his shirt and showed his mighty heart, which was strong as a lion's, lion heart, and the hair on his chest stood up like spears. Und hat Geschrei getan mit der Meure Dekol, and he screamed out with a fearful voice. Und Paras Knecht und Rotharem haben gemeint, als brillt. And Pharaoh's servants and advisors, they thought that a lion was roaring. Und wenn sie haben gesehen, als das ist Juda, seien ihre Herzen zergangen von Furcht. Und sie haben gekniet und gebuckt sich vor ihm. When they saw that it was Judah, their hearts melted out of fear, and they kneeled, and they bowed down in front of him, und gefallen mit ihrer Pennemer zu die Erde, and they fell with their faces to the ground. Azel Chamaisis hat gehat alle Shabbos. That's the sort of stories that he told us every Shabbos.
Afraid is given to learning by Otte Michel David. It was a pleasure to be taught by this Michel David. Aber die Freude hat nicht lang gedauert, but the happiness didn't last very long. Far Purim hat Rab Michel David in ganzen upgelost die Gemara. Before Purim, Michel David left the Gemara und gegrät sich zum freilichen Yontiv and got himself ready for the happy Yontiv. Erstens hat auf der Mizrachwand von Beis HaMidrash ungezeichnet mit a halben Licht. So the first thing on the eastern wall of the Beis Medrash of the congregation, he marked with a tallow light or a wax light, große Oisjes ungemulicht, big letters and drawings. Früher haben wir nicht gekonnt sehen, was sonst hat ungezeichnet. At the beginning, we couldn't see what he was drawing, weil der weiße Chelev hat sich nicht umgesehen auf der weißen Wand, because the white tallow couldn't be seen on the white wall. Aber der Melamed hat eingetunken a Schmata in ash, but the teacher dipped a Schmata, a rag, in the ashes von Beis HaMedrash oven, from the shul's oven, und mit übergegangen über dem Chalef. And with that, he drew over the tallow. Und gleich seien die Oisjes und Zeichungen geworden schwarz. And right away, the letters and the drawings became black. Und unsehevdik, and you were able to see them. Und wir haben der sehen größte Ausschrift, and we saw big letters. Mishenichnas Adar Marvin Besimcha. The beginning of the month of Adar is a time for Simcha. Was meint as wie nur es hebt sich der Chodesh Adar, which means that when the month of Adar begins, darf man unheben sich misameach zu sein. You have to start being happy. Unter dem schönen Aufschrift von getivete Oisius, and under the the pretty writing of the inscription letters is gewein ausgemalt a fleshel bramfen, and underneath the letters was drawn a fleshel, a bottle of bramfen, of liquor, und zwei Hand geben sich l'chaim, and two hands reached out to make a l'chaim. Getreu zu sein Aufschrift, true to what was written, hat Rab Michal David gemacht Emerson l'chaim, and true to what he had written, Rab Michal made an actual l'chaim. He made a prayer and drank. Mit the Hasidim, with the Hasidim. In Cheder hat mit uns gelernt the Megillah. In the Cheder with us, he taught the Megillah. Schnitzendig dabei die schönste grogers for alle Talmidim. And while he did it, he would carve, while he read the Megillah, he would carve the most beautiful grogers for his students. In beide Tag von Purim und Shushan Purim hat Rab Michal David mamash übergekehrt dus Städtele. In both days of Purim and the second day Shushan Purim, Rab Michal turned our shtetl on its head. When min hot geleint in Beis Samedrash the Megillah, when we read the Megillah, learned the Megillah in the synagogue, hat zu neuf genommen alle Jingelach. He brought together all the boys, nicht nur die Talmidim seiner, not only his own students, nor a viele Fremde, but even other students. Und commandewet mit uns beim Graben, beim Grageren. Oh, and he led us with the Grogers, jedes Wohl. He led us with the Grogers each time. Wenn min hot der Mond hominen, whenever they brought up Haman's name. Allein hat gehat gemacht for sich dem größten Grager. He had made for himself the biggest Grager. Hat euch getuppet mit die Fies. He stamped around with his feet. Und nicht nur bei Haman's Nomen, and not only when Haman's name was mentioned, nor euch, wenn min hot der Mond Haman's Weib Zeresh und Zeire 10 Zin, but also when they mentioned Haman's wife Zeresh and their 10 sons. Gearbet Maisim. And I looked that up and it said he went berserk. He went crazy. Do you know another meaning for that?
He did an awful lot.
Oh, okay. He jumped around. Hoter ven min hot der Mond homens ben zekenimel vayezuzu, and especially when they brought up the name of Haman's youngest son Vayezuzu.
Vaisasa.
Vice versa. Yeah, it depends on what dialect you speak. Yeah, okay.
Dus was a Yid mit a board, grogert in Beis HaMedrash, hat Reus gerufen, Grois Simcha bei uns. The fact that a Jew with a beard turns his grog around in the Beis Medrash brought out great joy among us Jingelach, bei uns Jingelach. Wir haben schier nicht das Beis HaMedrash zerlegt. We nearly wrecked the Beis HaMedrash. Mein Vater is a viele gewein unzufrieden. My father was even unhappy, weil wir haben gestört dem Balkoire in Lane in the Megillah, while we disturbed the the reader who was reading the Megillah. Aber hat sich nicht gebezert, but he didn't get mad. Men hat auf dem freilichen Michel David sich nicht gekonnt bezeren. It was impossible to get mad at Michel David. Hutzdeim is es doch gewein Purim. And besides that, it was Purim. Wenn me darf sich misameach sein, when we're supposed to be happy.
Nach der Megillah hat Michel David genommen gehen über die Heiser. After reading the Megillah, after the reading of the Megillah, Michel David started to go from house to house, von ein balabatischer Stub zu der anderer, from one householder's house to another, und machen L'chaims to have a drink. Und Shushan Purim hat zuneuf genommen die Chassidim und gemacht Hulyankes. On the next day, Shushan Purim, he gathered all the Chassidim and he made a commotion. Die Chassidim hat men a solche Sachen nicht gedarf beten. Now these Chassidim, you didn't have to ask them twice. Sie sind allemal great gewesen, zu a Sudale, zu a Simcha. They were always ready for a little feast and for a joyous occasion. Sie haben gekauft a Fass Bier und getrunken auf was die Welt steht. They bought a barrel of beer and they drank literally as the world stands, but they drank as much as they could. Sie haben euch herausgegangen bei die Balabostes, die gebrotene Gänselich und die Kuchens und die marinierte Fisch und alle andere gute Sachen. They also stole from the women of the households the roasted geese and the baked goods and the marinated fish and all the other tasty things. Sie sind gegangen von Haus zu Haus, wo sie haben gegessen und getrunken und getanzt. They went from house to house where they were eating and they drank and danced. Die Englisch seien noch gelaufen und haben sich angestellt in die Garteln von ihrer Tates. Ungecheppet, thank you. Ungecheppet in die Garteln von ihrer Tates. Reingeschleicht sich in Rod von hopsendicke Jeden. The kids ran after them, and they got tangled in the belts of their fathers, and they threw themselves into the circle dance of the hopping about, the Jews who were hopping about. Die Prosteleit, die Misnagdim, haben geguckt krumm auf die chassidische Cholyankes. Ordinary folk, the non-Chassidim, or the opponents of Chassidim, they looked unhappily at these Chassidic pranks. Aber die Chassidim haben sie gehört wie Haman dem Grager. But the Chassidim listened to them as much as Haman actually listens to the Grager. Und sie haben Salachas noch hecher gesungen und getanzt. And just out of spite, the Chassidim started dancing, singing higher and dancing more. Michel David hat getanzt auf der Gas. Michel David, he was dancing on the street. Ist gar nicht müde geworden von Trinken und Hopsen und Singen und Freuen sich. He didn't become tired at all of the drinking and the jumping and the singing and the merrymaking. Zum Letzten seien die Chassidim reingekommen zu mein Vater in Stub. And as the last stop, the Chassidim arrived at my father's house. Rebbetzin, der lang Fleumenzimmes, hat Michel David geschrien. Rebbetzin, give us some plum zimmes. Michel David shouted out. Jeden will nessen, a ruach in Hammenen, Zerischen, und in Zeretzen Mamzerem. We Jews, we need to eat. The devil take Haman and his wife Zeresh and their 10 bastards. Mein Mutter hat erlangt Fleumenzimmes, so my mother handed out Plumzimmes. Michel David hat geschrien, as me darf a nahe Fessel Bier. Michel David shouted out that they needed a new barrel of beer. Die zwei Huljakes zwischen die Chassidim, dreimal Schnittkrämer und Moshe Mendel Katzev, was hat sich gerieben zwischen Chassidim, sind weg und gebracht ein Neifessel Bier. Two of the merrymakers among the Chassidim, Tretel, who was a dry goods salesman, and Moshe Mendel, who was a butcher, who rubbed shoulders with the Chassidim. They went off and they brought a new, it's not really a barrel, it's a fessel, a keg, let's say, of beer. Danach haben beide Jiden übergekehrt die Hitlen auf der linken Seite, and then both of the fellows turned their hats around backwards, genommen Steckens in die Hand rein, they put sticks in their hands, weggesetzt sich auf der Erde und gesungen Bettlerlieder. They sat down on the ground and they started singing beggar songs. Und davke auf Polish, actually in Polish. Wenn sie haben danach ausgestellt a Teller auf Nedoves, haben die Jiden reingeworfen sein Geld zu Steuer auf dem Fessel Bier. And then, when they set out a plate to collect donations, the folks threw money for them as a zu Steuer, as a support auf dem Fessel Bier, to pay for the flask of, or the keg of beer. Tretel und Moshe Mendel haben das Geld genommen und gedankt wie goyische Bettler. So these two fellows, Tretel and Moshe Mendel, they took the money and they thanked for it like non-Jewish beggars. Überkrimmendig dabei die heilige Wörter von der goyische Bracha, making a mockery of the holy words that a non-Jew would use as his blessing. Das hat ausgerufen groß Gelächter, and this aroused an enormous laughter. Michel David is feil ausbeugen, a ruf auf den Tisch und genommen tanzen a Kazatzkel. Michel David, as quick as an arrow from the bow, he jumped onto the table and he began to dance a Kazatzki. That's a Cossack dance. Mein Mutter hat gewollt herabnehmen das Tischtuch, aber Michel David hat nicht gelust. Mommy, she wanted to take off the tablecloth, but Michel David didn't let her.
Rebbitzin, Purim Megman tanzen auf dem Tischtuch. Rebbitzin, on Purim, you can dance on the tablecloth. Es soll a Ruach hominin in sein Tatens Tatnerein bis Emulken.
Amalek.
Bis Amalek. Oh, the Amalek. Okay. Rebbitz. Okay. An evil spirit in Haman and in his ancestors and even in Amalek hat geschrien und getuppet mit die Fies. He yelled out and danced and jumped around on his feet. Noch is gesprungen von Tisch. Then afterwards he jumped off the table, eingehielt sich in Tischach, wrapped himself in the tablecloth. Wie in a talus, as though he was wrapping himself in a talus, und sich verstellt for a malach, and he disguised himself as an angel. Rebbitzin, ich bin der Malach Michel. Rebbitzin, I'm the angel Michel. Hat geschrien, he yelled out. Gib mir zwei Flederwischen, will ich machen fliegen. Give me 2 feather dusters and I'll make wings. Mein Mutter, a misnagidje, toch
Miss
a
Nagdische.
misnagedische Tochter. My mother, who was the daughter of a misnaged, had dem zu kochen kostet kein Flederwischen nicht gewollt geben. She didn't want to give this heated up kostet the feather duster. Aber is nicht gewähnt voll und allein rein in Kirch. But he was not lazy. He went on his own to the kitchen. Hat ausgesucht zwei Gänsene Fliegel. He looked for two goose wings, welche hat mit stricklich zugebunden zum Tischtach, that he, with strings, he tied them to the tablecloth. Azoi as soll aussehen wie ein emisser Malach, so he would actually look like a real angel. Dennoch hat genommen a Häufen Mehl und sich ausgemehlt das Punem. And afterwards, he took a handful of flour and he dusted his face with it. Verwus am Malach darf haben ein ausgemehlt Punem, weiß ich nicht. I don't know why an angel's supposed to have a dusted face, aber Razoi had Rab Michal David getum, but that's what Rab Michal David did. In Ot Dem Hiluch is a rein in mein Vater's Stube. In the same way, he went into my father's room und genommen tanzen Malochim Tanz, and he began to do an angel dance. Der Yid hat geschwebt wie Ruach. He swayed like the wind. Jeden haben zugepatscht mit die Hand und gerufen, freilich. The Jews there clapped their hands and they yelled out happily. Lebedik, Malach Michal. Faster, Malach Michal. Mit der Mul hat der Malach Michal zerspreit seine Hand wie Fliegel. And all of a sudden, the angel Michal spread out his hands like wings und a Fliegetun gleich durch ein Fenster in Dreußen Reus. And he gave he flew out the window, through the window to the outside, and he went to outside the house. Rein in Stub zurück ist schon nicht auf die eigene Fies. Back into the house again. He was not going to come on his own feet. He wasn't going to be able to walk back in the house. Min hat ihm getrugen. They had to carry him. Seine lebendige Augen seinen Gewein geschlossen. His lively eyes were closed. Von ein Aug hat gerunnen Blut. From one eye, blood was running.
Es ist nicht gewesen der Fall, was hat ihn verwundet, weil das Fenster ist gewesen niedrig, kamat bei der Erde. It wasn't his falling which had wounded him, because the window was low, it was almost to the ground. Aber a Scheub hat sich zerbrochen von dem Jidens Sprung, but one of the window panes broke because of his jump. Und a Stück Glas hat ihm getroffen in linken Auge rein, and a piece of glass got him right in his left eye. Zerknaderten, wie a Bintel teute Evrim, hat man ihm getrogen in sein Tischtech, mit die Flederwischen, mit den ausgemelten Ponnen, und man hat ihm ausgelegt auf ein Bett. Zerknodert, crumpled.
Crumbled.
Crumpled up, yeah. Crumpled up like a a collection of dead limbs. They carried him in his tablecloth, with his feather dusters, with his flour-dusted face. And they placed him on a bed, was es gewesen übergedeckt mit der grüner Koldre, mit gelle fantastische Leben. And they placed him on a bed that was covered with a green bed covering with fantastic yellow lions on it. Man hat gleich reingerufen dem goyischen Feldscher, Pawlowski. They immediately called in the non-Jewish bloodletter, a minor doctor, Pawlowski, was hat gewohnt in Schrenes, who was living nearby. Der Feldscher, was hat sein medizinische Chochme gelernt auf der Türkischer Milchome bei Fonien. This Feldscher, who had learned his medicinal wisdom in the Turkish war by the Russian army, und gewusst von Sphärophorus for alle Krankheiten, and he knew about 2 cures for all diseases, machen a Kanne and Eischmieren mit Yod, to give an enema and to smear with iodine. Is gestanden ungebeugen über dem ausgebeugenen Mensch mit dem vermelten Ponnen und weggemacht mit beiden Händen.
Yeah,
Ausgezogenem, yes. He stood bent over the stretched out fella with the dusty face, and he made a gesture with both hands. Ich kann gar nicht tun. Das Eug rennt dem Eis. There's nothing I can do. His eye, it's running out. Hat gesagt, he said. Alle Jeden herum, ausgenichterte in ein Rege, seien gestanden mit der abgelöste Cap. All the people around suddenly sobered up in 1 minute. They stood around with their heads bowed. Mein Vater hat sich gebeten beim ausgezeugenen Melamed. My father asked the stretched out teacher, Reb Michal David, ihr seht mich? Reb Michal David, entfert, Reb Michal David. Mr. Reb Michal David, can you see me? Answer me, please. Reb Michal David hat nicht geantwortet, but he didn't answer. Sein Ponem, ausgeschmiert in Mehl, hat ausgesehen wie ein Mess. His face, smeared with the flour, it looked like a corpse. Von linken Eug is ausgeronnen a din schnirrele bullet. And from his left eye, there was still running a small trickle of blood. Die Prostijiden, wo seinen sich angelaufen, haben gemussert, die Chassidim. The ordinary folk who had run up, they scolded the Chassidim. Chassidakes, Shikurim sind ihr, nicht Kajiden, haben sie gemurmelt, als Augenblick. You Chassidakes, that's a pejorative ending. You drunkards that you are, you're not Jews, they murmured. Such a misfortune.
Mein Vater is gewein choshech. My father turned dark. Mein Mutter hat geweint. My mother cried. Inmitten weinen hat sie sich der Mond, als men darf zinden Licht, weil Shushan Purim is demult ausgefallen in Freitag. In the middle of her crying, my mother was reminded that she has to light the candles because Shushan Purim would fall that day on Friday. Sie hat a Weinendicken gebencht. Sie hat a Weinendicke gebencht. Sie hat a Weinendicke gebencht die Shabbos-dicke Licht, wie Talmud. While she was crying, she blessed the Shabbos lights, as always, hübsch früher vor der Zeit, a lot earlier than was necessary. Ich hab geguckt auf dem Melamed meinem, was ist gelegen, ausgezogen auf der größer Kolder.
Grimmer.
I took a look at my teacher who was laying stretched out on the green tablecloth. Oh, no, colder. What is that?
That's covered.
That's a bed
cover.
covering. It was yellow before, now it's
the
become
green
green.
cover mit die gelbe, fantastische Leben with the yellow, fantastic looking lions. Gelegen a Schweigendicker. He lay there without a sound. Mit an ausgemalt Punim, with a face full of meal, okay. Über welchen Adin schnierele Blut hat sich geschlängelt, over which a thin string of blood was gliding down. Und ich hab gehabt Tarumas, and I was resentful. I was angry. Zu Gott. I was angry at God. Was hat gekonnt uptun as Ungerechtigkeit, who was able to do such an injustice, in Yontiv dazu, and even worse, on Yontiv. Dus is gewein Schwarz Shabbos. This was a black Sabbath. Mein Vater hat geheißen einem von die Bäckerjungen einspannen Pferd. My father asked one of the bakery boys, one of the bakery workers, to hitch up the horses, umwogen the horse and wagon, Shabbos, on Shabbos, wegführen dem verwundeten Melamed, and take away the wounded teacher, came Zakrochen, to the town of Zakrochen, maybe it was a city, wo es is gewein a doctor, where there was actually a doctor. Mehr is Rab Michal David nicht zurückgekommen in Stetl. And that was the last that Michal David ever came back to our town. Wie wir haben gehört von Jeden, what we heard from other Jews, was haben ihm der noch gesehen, which we saw him afterward, is geblieben blind auf dem linken Auge. He remained blind in his left eye. Oh.
Yeah. And we talk about health insurance. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, what a life.
Zakrechin is the Polish town of Zakroczym in Congress, Poland.
Okay.
Okay, a neue Kapitel, next chapter. Ich fuhr das erste Mal auf a Bahn und die Nissim v'Nefloyes was verläufen sich mit mir. I travel for the first time on a train, and the miracles and wonders that accompany me, or that happen to me. A groß Geschehnis pflegt sein für uns, für mir und meine ältere Schwester. Wenn die Mama pflegt Sommer fahren mit uns, besuchen ihre Eltern in Bulgarei. It was a great event that used to happen for us, me and my older sister Esther, when Mommy used to, on summertime, travel with us to visit her parents in Bulgarei. Erstens, pflegt die Mama wollen sehen ihre Mishpacha. First of all, Mother wanted to see her family. Zweitens, pflegt sie wollen befreien sich von ihr Elend und Einsamkeit in Lenshin. And second of all, she wanted to free herself from the solitude the loneliness in the town of Lenshin. Drittens, pflegt seine Sia reis helfen in der Ormer Parnasse. And third, this trip actually helped out our poor income. Die Mama pflegt gewöhnlich verbringen beim Seiden etliche Chadashim und der Tate ist imstand gewesen zu sparen von seiner 4 Rubel a Woch Sechiras. So mother would usually stay at the grandfather's house for a few months, and father was then able to save out of his 4 rubles a week the schiras, some of the pay, an Opzol and Chayves, and he could then pay off some of the debts, was man hat gemacht über den Winter, that had accrued during the winter.
May I ask a question?
Yeah. Sure.
Who's paying him the 4 ruble? It's the kehila, it's the community. How does a rabbi like that, who's not officially authorized by the government, how is he getting paid?
I don't know. Apparently that even when his wife isn't there, he is getting paid. Often what would happen is that they would live off of the wife's income because she would be given a monopoly on such things as yeast.
Yeah.
But here it must be that the community is paying him.
That's what I thought, but yeah, I didn't know that. Thank you.
Der Tate hat, sagt euch, gar nicht gehabt gegen unsere Wegfahren. It appears that father had no objection to our traveling. Ihm vielleicht schon zu schwer ausfallen, die Deiges Parnasse, der Mames ewiger Musser für sein nicht belegen Examen. He used to worry too much about the matters of income and mother's continual scolding that he had not sat for the exam. Und hat gewollt, Chotsch auf etliche Chadashim herabwerfen von sich dem all. So he wanted, at least for a few months, to cast the yoke off his neck. Die Weiber in Städtel haben mit Vergnügen gekocht und geräumt waren Taten. So the women of the town, with pleasure, they would cook for him and clean the house. Wenn ist geblieben allein, when he was by himself. Warum Punkt wie sie haben nicht gekannt auskommen mit der Mammen, blieb ihr zurück Gehaltenkeit und Fremdkeit, because just as they were unable to get along with mother because of her backwardness and her piety, also haben sie ungefallen von Taten, für seine Gutmütigkeit und Zugelassenkeit. To the same measure, they rejoiced because of father's good nature and his approachability. Der Tate pflegt gehen auf jeder Simche, was man hat ihm gebeten. Father used to go to every joyous occasion that he was invited to. Afil zu die unbekovedste Menschen, even to the least, how do you translate covet?
Least important, or
Yeah, the least important people, or
The
people
low-
at the
the lowest
yeah,
class, the
at
lowest
the
class.
bottom of the social ladder.
Yeah.
Hat mit jedem gerät, Freundschaft herausgewiesen. He would speak to everyone, and he would show friendliness. Und das nicht so lieb gefallen wären und machen sich beliebt, nur zu lieb sein grenzenloser Pashtus. And that was not because of his wanting to be well liked, but it was because of his boundless
I
simplicity.
think that is oh, I'm sorry. No. Sorry. Go on.
his boundless simplicity, Gutmütigkeit und Naivität, and his good nature and his naivete. Und Menschen haben ihm abgezahlt mit derselber Matbea, so people paid him in turn with the same coin. Die Weiber haben euch angequollen von Taten, zu lieb sein, geen of dicken Eusen und kinderischer Unbeholfenkeit. The women, they also were pleased with Father because of his pleasant appearance and his childish simplicity, Unbeholfenkeit.
I see this as a helplessness.
Helplessness.
Yeah, it could be clumsiness or
Helplessness.
helpless. I'm going to translate it as clumsiness.
Yeah, okay, it's the same thing.
Und sie pflegen im Kecheln und Zusen, wenn die Mama is nicht gewesen in der Heim. And they used to, what is Kecheln?
Cook him
Pamper.
special things.
Pamper. Kechlen is
To pamper, yeah. They would pamper him and look after him when mother was not at home. Die Chassidim, was haben sich nicht gefühlt heimisch in unser Stub mit der Mamen. Now these Chassidim who never felt at home in our place when mother was there, der misnagdischer Tochter, a daughter of an anti-Chassidic family, haben in ihr Abwesenheit gepravet allemal nahe Sudelich. In her, when she wasn't around, they used to have all the time new feasts in Taten's Stub, in Daddy's house. Treitel, der Schnittkrabber, we've met him before. Treitel, the dry goods man, and Moshe Mendel, der Katzev, and Moshe Mendel, the butcher, was haben sich gerieben bei Chassidim, who rubbed shoulders, as I said before, with the Chassidim, haben gekocht chassidische Gritzen und Knobelborsten. They would cook Chassidic grits, porridge, and garlic borscht. Der Noged von Stettel, Reb Yoshua Waldhändler, and the richest man in the town, Reb Yehoshua Waldhändler, he was a merchant of wood, hat mamisch gezwungen dem Taten zu sein jeden Shabbos sein Gast in Heis. He convinced, or he forced a father to come every Shabbos to be his guest in his house. Wo hat ihm abgegeben dem Oibnon, where he placed him at the head of the table.
I just want to say, mentions the town of Bilgerai, and mein Mama is geboren geworden in Bilgerai.
Wow.
Die Mama hat gewusst.
Maybe you are related.
Kann
Ja.
sein.
Can
Die
say, yeah.
Mama hat gewusst, als sie lost über dem Taten in guten Hand. Mother knew that she was leaving father in good hands. Und sie hat darüber oft gemacht, ihre Nesias came Bilgerai in the Sommer, and she often made her trips to Bilgerai in the summer. Wie nur es pflegen sich stellen die schöne sommerdicke Tag, when as soon as the pretty summer days came, flaked the Mama dingen erfuhr, she would rent a carriage, was hat uns zugeführt bis der Weissel, which took us to the Vistula River. Dort haben wir sich a River geschifft mit der Peurisch Schiffel, and there we went on the water with a worker's ship, a peasant ship.
Does that word mean sailed? Übergeschifft?
Übergeschifft. We
Like
were
It's just across the river. We
shipped across to the other side.
Yes.
Zweiten,
Shipped over, okay. All right, thank
I'm
you.
not sure. Wo sie haben geankert die Dampfschiffen, where the steamships were anchored. Und mit einer von sie gefahren bis Warschau. And with one of them, we traveled to Warsaw. Von dannen seien wir gefahren mit der Bahn bis Lublin. From there, we took the train to Lublin, oder gur bis Rivitz, or all the way to Rivitz, a shtetl in Lubliner Gubernia, a shtetl in the Lublin province. Von ort der Bahnstanzie haben wir sich geschleppt mit balagulische Beuden. From that train station, we got a ride from the Balagula drivers' wagons bis Bilgerai, until Bilgerai. In Bilgerai, wie in meisten Städtlich in Lubliner Gubernia, is kein Eisenbahn nicht gewesen. As with the majority of Lublin province, there was no train, and there was no train there, while the Gegend is gewesen nun zu der österreichische Grenze, because that area was near the Austrian border, und die zarische Generalen haben gehalten, and the Tsarish generals said that als Kedei upzustellen die Österreicher in Fall von der Milchume is besser zu losen die Gegend unbannen, and it's better to stop the Austrians.
Yeah, in order to stop the Austrians in case of a war.
In case of the war, it's better to leave the neighborhood without a train. Von Rivitz on is der River mehr kein Bahnlinie. From Rivitz on and on, there was no train line. In Lublina Gubernia nicht gewesen. There wasn't any. Die Wegen verfuhren seinen euch gewesen schlechter. The roads to travel on were bad. Voll von Annecia über die schlechte Chausseen von Lublina Gubernia for a trip on the bad roads of the Lublin province, was jeden haben sie gerufen, which Jews called the Melech Evion's Gitter. Okay, I don't know.
Possession of the king of the poor.
Oh, Evions. Oh, the king of the poor's merchandise. Yes? Aber ich hab sich wenig gemacht von die alle Sachen und gewesen in siebten Himmel. And I didn't mind the other things, and I was in seventh heaven when Simcha was mir fuhren from the joy that we're going to be traveling. Schon der erste Aroisfuhr von Lenchen zu der Dampfschiff. In the first part of the trip from Lenchen to the steamship is gewesen wert alle Oizers in der Welt, is worth all the treasures in the world. Von Kindweisung hab ich gehabt ein ungeheurene Liebschaft zu Pferd. From childhood on, I had an unimaginable love for horses. Der Reich von a Pferdstall hat mir geschmeckt besser wie die beste Reiches. The smell of a horse's stall to me smelled better than the best smells, than the best odors. Und ich pfleg Mama's feeling das größte Glück in meine Hand. And I felt like the best luck was in my hands wenn ich Pflege kennen, glätten die Wege, zitterdicke Nusslöcher von a pferdische Kopf. And I was just happy when I was able to, when I used to be able to pat the wide nostrils, the quivering nostrils from the horse's head. Übergehen mit die Finger über a pferdische Grieve. To go over with my fingers the horses, and I didn't read this before. What's a grieve? Anybody know?
I don't know.
Yes, that's the mane of a horse.
Oh, the mane.
Could be. Yeah.
Wie der Balagula pflegt zufahren zu unser Haus, bin ich zugefallen zum Pferd. As soon as the wagon driver came to our house, I fell on the horse, geglätt, gezerteltes, and I patted it and was nice to it. Der Reich von Hay, mit welcher die gesessen seine Gewein ausgebet, and the smell of hay, which was bedded in with his, where the horse, with welche die gesessen, what are the gesessen seine?
The gesessen are the seats on the wagon.
Oh, okay. In is gewein Tam Gan Eden, to me, was the taste of paradise. Avada as Yitzhak Samavolia, but surely Yitzhak Samavolia is gewein der Balagula, when he was the driver, hat mich nicht gelost wegsetzen sich auf dem Balagulische Gesessel. He didn't let me sit next to the driver's seat. Und nehmen die Leitzes and take the reins in die Hand rein, in my hands. Weil hat geteinet, als Zazach passt nicht waren Reb's Sohn. He said such a thing wasn't proper for a rabbi's son. Aber als der Balagula pflegt sein Hirschel Schwäger, a fleischiger Milchjid. But when the driver was Hirschel Schwäger, a pudgy fleischiger milk.
That's like a heavy. Full of meat.
What's a milchjid? But maybe he was, even though he dealt with milk, he was kind of chubby. You think that's it?
Milchid, maybe.
A milchjid is like a milker, like Tevye the milker, you know? Is that he's
maybe, yeah.
a dairy farmer?
A milkman, somebody that
Right, that dealt with milk products, but he himself was fleischiger because he would be chubby or meaty.
That's right. That's how he was mixing meat and milk.
Mit rote Backen, with red cheeks, pflegte mich losen untreiben. He would let me drive. Dus halten die verdarte lederne Leitzes in the hand, just the holding of the thin leather reins in my hands. Dus gucken auf dem Pferd, just looking at the horse, was schuckelt mit die Euren, whose ears would shake, mit der Grieve, mit dem Gespann, with the, and what did we say Grieve was?
The mane.
Oh, with the mane. Mit dem Gespann, mit dem Eck beim Laufen, with his steps, his big steps.
I think Gespann is the bridle.
The tail. No?
What is it?
The egg is the tail.
The egg is his tail.
The Geshpan, I
With,
think,
with
is the
his tail
bridle.
when he would run.
The Geshpan is the harness.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Spannen die Pferd is to harness them.
Okay. And then his tail when he, okay, when he ran is gewein süß wie Honig. It was as sweet as honey for me. Heint wie gut, wie Gott is gewein zu pfeifen dem Pferd. Heint wie gut, excuse me, wie gut is gewein zu pfeifen dem Pferd. It was so good to whistle at the horse. Wenn stellt sich up, tun a Kleinigkeit. So when he would stop, it was a little thing, oder zu trugnis an Emmer Wasser, or to bring to the horse a pail of water. Wenn es werd durstig, or when the horse was thirsty. A Welt mit Leben is gelegen in die schnierlich Wasser, a world of good living is gewein in the schnierlich Wasser. What is schnierlich?
In the
It's the
the
drippings of
revolving-
water.
The what?
Drippings of water. Here
Oh,
it's
the drippings of water.
yeah.
Seinen zurückgerunden von die weiche pferdische Noslecher, which dripped from the soft horse nostrils. Die Mama hat nicht gekannt zu sehen mein Simche über dem Pferd. My mother she couldn't stand my happiness with the horse. Nicht hören mein Pfeifen, and she couldn't stand hearing my whistling. Und wuss ich bin, agav kein größer Brie nicht gewesen.
Beria.
Beria.
Oh,
Beria.
Beria, und wuss ich bin, agav kein größer Beria nicht gewesen, and which I was also no great expert.